It's lager time! Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories and thoughts. By me, Paul Cree. Who else?
Greetings, bonjour, what's happening? Welcome to Lager Time. Legions of lager lights, grab your tins, your bottles and your pints. My name is indeed Paul Cree, and this here is my blog, podcasty type thing where whatever the frequency I've been delivering, I share bits of stuff that I've been working on, mainly writing. Sometimes it's poems, sometimes it's stories, and more recently, over the last few months since December, actually, these sort of like reflective-y, thoughty, memoir-y type things, all based on quotes from each of the 12 books of meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which is a very good book, and I've been regularly reading and digesting bits from it since last year sometime. So there's one for each of the 12 books, and this week will be book number 11, so we're almost done. But anyway, I'll get onto that in just a moment. So what's been happening? Quite a lot. We just had, if you're listening in England, we've just had the bank holiday weekend in May, and this year I was involved in the Maidstone Fringe Festival. So Maidstone is where I live. Well, I kind of split my time between Maidstone and London. But yeah, it's the first year I got involved, so it's just down the road. Literally, I could walk there from my house. It was great. So this year they expanded it out beyond music. It's mainly bands. But this year they had like workshops and stuff. And they had on the Saturday a spoken word poetry showcase. So myself and another local guy who I met, who's also a fellow wanderer, as in he's been around a bit, called Mercutio the Poet. We hosted and performed that little showcase at this unit in the town, this little retail unit. It was really good. It was really well turned out. It was pretty busy. Lots of local people came and read their stuff, or they just came and listened. It was really good. And then the following day in the same spot, we did an open workshop where anyone could come in and do a bit of writing. And also we had some equipment set up so they could make beats and beatbox and all that other stuff. So it was really good. It was quite a pleasant weekend, and it was really busy. And the town felt buzzing, alive, whether that was the nice weather, the fact that it was bank holiday weekend, and then that it was the Fringe Festival. Perhaps all of those things combined to make it rather pleasant. And each day that I did, I walked there and then I walked home, which is rare. I don't get to do that. I'm traveling all the time. Oh, actually, I didn't walk home because I went to Aldi's. Yeah, or Aldi, as my wife always corrects me, after one of the gigs, and got some shopping and got on the bus back because the bag was a little bit heavy. But that's what I'm talking about. These kind of delicacies, these kind of little things that I don't get to do because I'm normally running to get a train or a tube or a bus. And I bopped home, mate. It was lovely. And the weekend was nice too. Yesterday I was up in London doing a little R&D on a project, the beginnings of a project which hopefully will go on to become a theatre show, and that was nice and fun. Yeah, so what else? A couple of little large ups. I have to large up Zoe Sparkle, who was one of the organisers for the Maidstone Fringe. I met Zoe back last year. She runs a community theatre in Maidstone called Harmony, and is very well plugged in around here. And she's really cool, very open, and by all accounts is doing a lot of good things in the community, and I respect that. Community arts is somewhere where I work a lot. Large up Mercutio the Poet, who I co-ran with. So we co-hosted the event. Well, he did most of the hosting actually, but we performed quite a bit, and then we did the workshop together the next day. And it's always a bit tricky when you're paired up with someone like that. He does a similar job to me, as in he runs around the place doing workshops for music and writing and stuff, just like me. And when you're put together with someone and you both know what you're doing, it can be a little bit tricky, but no, not in this case, not at all. He was great to work with, and he was a good guy. Also, Hannah and Chris, who were between them were running like art sessions and improv comedy sessions. All of this stuff, I think, has been quite new to the Fringe this year. And, these are all people just really doing it out of their own good hearts. That's kind of how it rolls down there, which is good. All right, so cool. So community arts, that leads me up to mentioning or plugging this show that's coming to Bristol on the 30th of May, Love Scripted. So Love Scripted is the name of a show, which is a group that I work with who I've probably talked about before. In fact, I have talked about before. So I work for an organisation in London called Dream Arts. I work all year round with them. There's a specific project within Dream Arts called Friends from Afar, and the group is made up of asylum seekers and refugees. And we run that project throughout the year. And this is our third year, my third year of working on the project. And each year we create a show. So this year we've expanded it out, and we took this show we've been developing since last year. We took it down to Devon in February. So we're going to ACTA, which is a community theatre in Bristol, on the 30th of May. So we'll take the boys there for a few days and we'll do the show. So we'll be showing a new part of the show. It's not quite finished yet. But if you're in and around Bristol, or you know anyone that is, please, we don't know many people over that side of the world. So yeah, please tell them to come along. It's part of a little mini festival called Call and Response, which is a festival of community arts. So there'll be us and there'll be a few other local groups all sharing pieces of work. I think there'll be another theatre piece and maybe some music and poetry and stuff. But again, community arts is, obviously it pays my living, but it does a lot of good stuff, which often doesn't get mentioned. So yeah, Love Scripted, and then mentioned last month or last week or whatever it was, the Pied Piper show, which is the Pied Piper hip hop family musical, which is by Beatbox Academy, who I work with sometimes. That show is going to be at the Southbank Centre from the 31st of May to the 2nd of June. It's a really, really good show. It's just come back from Coventry, where they were at the Belgrade Theatre, and they were at Canterbury Gulbenkian before Christmas, and then it ran at BAC when I worked on the project. It's a sick show. You can bring the kids. But it's not just for kids. There's loads of banging tunes in it. It's all beatbox, rapped. Everything's done live on stage. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, it's going to be at the big Southbank Centre, which, if you're unfamiliar with London, it's on the South Bank where the Big Eye is. It's a very famous venue, and it's a pretty sick deal getting in there. So yeah, so they're like the sort of theatre-y, worky things. Another little large up, Neil Chopper Harris, obviously. As I'm sure you're all aware, Millwall guaranteed their safety from being relegated to the depths of League One last week. So we had the final game of the season Saturday whilst I was busy doing the showcase, obviously pretending not to look at my phone when it was buzzing. But we beat Swansea away 1-0, meaning Millwall were safe, finished 13th, 5 games unbeaten. In fact, 5 games won in a row, which is pretty decent. And got to say, when Neil Harris came back, he's a club legend. He's the all-time leading goal scorer. He managed the club 5 years back, and he ended up stepping away. Look, he's old school. If you love football, it's like passion, keep it tight, don't score many goals. It's not the greatest football in the world to watch. So I was quite... I was downbeat when he came back in to take the job after Joe Edwards got sacked, and I was thinking, we're going backwards. But I don't know. He's got us safe, which is the main thing. 5 games unbeaten. The Den's been a good place to go back, and we went back there last week, so I got to large up some lager lights, yeah, because there was a little squad of us went to Millwall last week against Plymouth, 1-0. Juicy Jake Cooper getting a striker's header at the end. But he had a lovely time, and there was lots of lager consumed. Yeah, wonderful. So yeah, that's pretty much the update. So I'll introduce the piece for now. So this is from book 11, and blimey, like we're almost done with this. I'm in the midst of writing the, no, this is from book 10, sorry. This is from book 10, not book 11. I'm in the midst of writing book 11. This is where I get confused. But yeah, there'll certainly be 2 more after this one. So this one is called On Directing the Mind, which is a reference to the directing mind, which if you've read Meditations gets talked about a lot. And it's just about controlling my own little thoughts, really. So there you go. Hope you enjoy it. As ever, if you like this or know anyone that would like it, please recommend it to your mates or whatever, this weird little niche thing. You can make a cash donation on Ko-Fi, and there'll be a link in the podcast, which is KO-FI. I don't know, just look like a tip jar or whatever. You can buy the last few copies of my book, The Suburban, which is a collection of poems and stories that came out in 2018. I'm down to my last few. And then I've got like 2 copies of the Hip Hop Theatre Trilogy, which is Beats and Elements, the hip hop theatre company I work with. There's 2 plays I co-wrote in there. And then there's like music and all of that on YouTube and wherever else. And if you like this, subscribe on Substacky or wherever else. You know the coup. All right, that'll do for now. I'm going to crack on and record this next part. I do hope you enjoy it. You'll hopefully hear from me again, fate permitting, as the Stoics say, in a couple of weeks. Peas and taters. Paul. What is my directing mind to me? What am I turning it into now? What use am I making of it? Is it drained of intelligence? Is it divorced and broken off from society? Is it so interfused and welded to the flesh that it sways with its tides? Book 10, Passage 24. On a number of occasions recently, whilst out walking my dogs, a little robin has suddenly appeared whenever I find myself slipping into the sort of negative thought spirals that tend to wind me up, like politics, pretend arguments or discussions with people that have never happened, which always sees me coming out on top, silly fantasies, trivial stuff. It's a routine I'm well rehearsed in. But then this little robin comes bobbing into my eyeline as if to say, "Wind it in, son. There's better things to be thinking about, you mug." It might be serendipity or coincidence, as it's spring, but on every occasion I've seen this robin, it snaps me out of these mental swamps, at least temporarily, and I've managed to raise a little smile a couple of times. The idea of the directing mind and taking care over what resides in there gets mentioned a lot in meditations. It's really poignant and just what I need to hear, ideally, every day. There's a part of me that wished I'd seen that above quote when I was a teenager, mired in paranoia and fantasies, but I probably would have ignored it. To take charge of your own thoughts in a controlled and calm way, as simple and as obvious as it sounds, is revolutionary to me. There's probably a load of different ways this quote has been repackaged and spewed out as sage advice, like that Persil advert back in the day when the dad says to his son who's about to run the sack race at school, PMA, positive mental attitude, followed by that classic line, "Oh no, my sandwiches." I remember thinking at the time that PMA was good advice, but I didn't quite know how to apply it. What exactly does a positive mental attitude mean? What does it look like? What exactly do you need to do? But I was mainly focused on the kid and that classic line, which is probably quite telling. The message was there, but not the know-how or intention to implement it, and of course, I was more distracted by trivial things. My sandwiches. What a great line. I felt similar later in life when attempting yoga and mindfulness. Whatever book I read would always give me some sort of vague instruction like, just relax and let it all go. Let it all go. What the fuck does that mean? Let what go? I'm not physically holding anything. What exactly do I do here? Give me a precise instruction, you smug fucking... And that's pretty much how most attempts at doing any type of mental good stuff would end with me. Writing this reminds me of some of those DIY videos you see on YouTube. I'm sure some of you have wound up watching. They make it look so easy. Some cheery geezer, presumably with a lot of PMA and a box of Persil, with a hammer, a measuring tape, a bag of screws and a load of wood laid out in front of him, melty music in the background. He does a couple of bangs, few little jigs of a screw, bit of paint, few weak attempts at banter, tasty bit of editing, then bosh, he's constructed a summer house with plumbing and electrics in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Then we like and subscribe on command. But where's the proverbial jam sandwich stain? Because you know there's going to be loads of mistakes and tricky bits. I remember doing a gig in my early days as an MC. I was always very short on confidence and full of self-doubt, especially in a hostile environment like that, which made it even harder. There was this one guy I knew who'd come down every month from London. He advised me one night, juiced up when I was having yet another wobble prior to taking the mic. You just gotta believe you're the best, mate. You're number fucking one, that's what you gotta tell yourself. But all I could think was, yeah, I hear you, but I'm not number one though, am I? I'm alright, at best. Which was obviously true. I was okay at it, on a good day, but I was realistic. I just thought his advice at heart was to get me to lie to myself. I weren't having it. If I lie to myself about something, then to me that's pointless because I'd end up inevitably failing, especially in a pursuit as cutthroat and competitive as MCing. Then of course there were the tons of self-help books which I read and now online content instructing you to speak all manner of different positive affirmations like, I'm not anxious, but I am though. These things to me also felt false. I'm calm and relaxed, but I'm not though. I never am. I'm all over the gaff, mate. You smug fucking... I'd give it a go and just feel like a bellend saying these things, or I'd start laughing to myself at how silly it all sounded. If all the above tactics work for other people, then fair enough, good for you. But it's not for me though. It just all feels disingenuous and temporary relief at best. There's no surprise that the self-help industry is apparently worth billions. What we all probably need is a bit of PMA, a box of Persil washing powder, and those jam sandwiches will never bother you ever again. But what exactly is the PMA? When I started reading meditations and other bits of Stoicism, once it started touching on the directing mind and how you should focus your thoughts on simple things inside of your control, to me, it felt like one of those days when your PC inexplicably stops working. You get in a mega stress, well, I do, trying all manner of solutions to fix it. You Google a load of those nerd doctors until someone casually points out that the kettle lead is not plugged in. It's embarrassing, but really, it's a big relief. It was that simple all along. If I'm thinking about politics, I can stop and think about something else. There's been a couple of times, with the help of that little Red Robin, where I've been just about able to concentrate my mind elsewhere and not let it go down those negative thought holes or pull it out of one by focusing on something else. Another thing Marcus Aurelius advises is having a few default thoughts that you can draw for when your thinking is starting to go a bit pear-shaped. I'm working on that. I've not yet figured out what that is, but there's a farm that I like near where I live in Maidstone, which is calm, and I like to think about it because it's pretty. But I nearly always end up ruining the image somehow, like a load of white boys doing donuts in their souped-up motors blasting speed garage. But I get the idea. Whilst the solution is simple, none of this is easy in practicality, especially when I've got myself worked up overthinking something. The adrenaline is pumping, the heart is racing. It's a deeply ingrained habit. I can do a few breathing things to get that back under control, which often doesn't work, so I have to let it die out of its own accord, which can leave me feeling miserable and tired, like I've failed. When I get fizzy with those thoughts, it's like trying to carry a fishbowl full of charged up piranhas strapped with little dynamite sticks. It takes a lot to calm down that party. But if I can spot the signs early, like the little Robin has been helping me to do, I can change course and slip a few sleepy pills into the piranha bowl. Recently, we were getting some internet installed in the house. My wife was at work, so I was in charge of overseeing the operation, which makes me anxious. The engineer was trying to work out where best to plumb in the cable. Almost immediately, I started going into panic mode, stressing that there was a simple and obvious thing that I should know, that my wife would know, but I didn't. I'll get it wrong and she'll be annoyed with me. Calm it down, son. I didn't see the Robin, but I had to have a little word with myself, bring the focus back and calm it down. We worked out where best to drill a hole and feed the cable through. Minimal damage. When my wife phoned me, I explained what was happening, and that was that. So why was I getting all stressed? Because I was letting myself get stressed. So I chose not to get stressed. The process wasn't perfect, but it's a good start towards getting better at managing these situations. A lot of what Marcus Aurelius talks about is how so many of our problems, like anxiety and stress, are caused by our own internal judgments, as opposed to originating from somewhere external, i.e. from someone or something else. After absorbing this, I finally got the message that we can allow ourselves to be hurt by something, or we can choose to be offended or hurt by something, or not. It's a simple choice. You just got to put that into practice and deal with the jam down the trackies moments when they come along, which they will, in a calm and measured way. The thing that always confused me, though, was that if someone annoyed me, I'd get a feeling in my belly, an emotion, you know the one that doesn't feel good. And because I felt something, therefore I should be angry or worried or anxious. But what I'm learning to do is that if I feel something, that's okay. I won't always know what it is and why I'm feeling it. So better to acknowledge it and sit with it before I do anything rash, or use the feeling as an excuse to retreat into my head and plunge deep into the mind swamp. In the nut department, I can choose how I act and what I then crucially go on to think about. The feeling and the thought are feeding each other. It's the agency. I can choose. My mind, my choice. It's flipping hard though. Some of you might well be thinking, Paul, this is obvious. How do you not know this? Which is exactly what I thought, but for whatever reason, I didn't. Just think, all those years I sat there in jobs I hated, situations where I was miserable, when I was clearly making it much harder on myself by not exerting control on the content of my thoughts. Where was that Robin when I was working in credit control for a bank and bottom of the collection charts? So here we are, 40 years old, having wasted a lot of time stewing in my own internal war zones, when I could have been training or directing my mind to focus on what really matters, harnessing that PMA. Mate, I've got a long way to go, but better late than never. I hope that Robin sticks around. He's got a bit about him. No chance, mate.
It's longer time. Yay! Lager time. Poems, stories and thoughts. By me, Paul Cree. Who else?